Hey guys, Michael here from AtomicBlender. Donald Trump recently signed 4 executive orders to unleash the domestic nuclear industrial base, with the goal to provide a path forward for nuclear innovation. With high targets like quadrupling America's nuclear power capacity by 2050, building out a domestic nuclear fuel supply chain, deploying advanced reactors, and everyone's favorite, streamlining regulations. This all comes at a time of increased competition from countries like China, which is set to surpass the United States in nuclear output by the end of the decade. According to the Energy Secretary, the American nuclear renaissance is finally here. Although if you remember in the mid-2000s, the last nuclear renaissance in the United States was a bit more of a dud than a successful comeback. But hey, this time promises to be different. And if you're pro-nuclear, this all sounds pretty good. After all, we've been sitting on a bunch of advanced reactor designs that are just waiting to get out there. If only someone would finally remove the roadblocks that are preventing us from making atoms great again. Right? Well, sort of. It's easy to point to individual problems like red tape or unfair competition. Not that these aren't valid concerns, it's just it may be a bit of an overstatement to see these orders come out and then say, yeah, that'll fix it. As with a lot of these things, once the initial excitement dies down, we may need to temper our expectations a little bit. And that's not to say that there aren't substantive changes in these orders, but there are a fair amount of, shall we say, stretch goals. So I thought it'd be worthwhile to talk about what's actually in these orders, how they fit in with existing legislation, and how realistic they might be. Because, spoiler alert, building more than 300 reactors in 20 years might not be as feasible as we'd like. To start though, for those who might not know, let me give some context. After a flurry of construction in the 1970s and 80s, the US basically stopped building new nuclear plants, with just 3 new reactors coming online since 2000. There are many reasons for this, from economic factors to regulatory challenges, and just generally, electricity demand in the US stopped growing. And of those reactors that were built, one was from a paused construction in the 1970s, and the other 2 were a new design, which currently hold the record for being the most expensive operating reactors in the world. In response, Congress passed the ADVANCE Act in 2024, which aimed to modernize the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, develop a new domestic fuel supply chain, and streamline licensing for next-gen reactors. Despite this, according to the Trump administration, commercial deployment of new nuclear technologies has all but stopped. So what do these executive orders actually do? Well, quite a lot actually. We won't go through all the details because it would be too long for this video, but I'll give you the highlights of the most important changes. Now, although there are 4 executive orders, one of them certainly caught the most attention. Ordering the reform of the Nuclear Regulatory Commission takes direct aim at the agency and its culture, accusing it of charging excessive fees and failing to license new reactors even as technological advances promise to make nuclear power safer. Going so far as to accuse the agency of a fundamental error, by trying to insulate Americans from what the administration considers even the most remote risks, specifically arguing that the NRC's safety model for radiation is flawed and results in irrational results, such as requiring that nuclear plants protect against any radiation, even below naturally occurring levels. For comparison, the International Atomic Energy Agency recommends that the threshold be set between about 1/2 and 1/100th of the typical natural background radiation rate, below which they don't recommend any further consideration or special treatment. The Trump administration argues that the NRC has gone too far and should be brought back to reason. To address this, the executive order directs the agency to undertake a wholesale revision of its regulations and guidance documents, with its proposed rulemaking to be ready within 9 months and final guidance within 18 months. Now, for those who might not know, the NRC has literally thousands of regulations and guidance documents, which amount to tens of thousands of pages. And the NRC's most recent regulation, known as Part 53, which is intended to support new reactor designs, has been in development for at least 5 years. But the new order does specify that at least 20 people should draft the new regulations over the next 9 months, which even under the most optimistic conditions might be a bit of a challenge. Maybe they can have all-night pizza parties to get through it. But aside from rewriting the agency's entire regulatory framework, there are some more realistic goals in there. For example, the order specifies that new construction or operating license decisions should be made in 18 months, provided the applicant provides all the information that they're supposed to. This would be a sharp reduction from the current NRC targets of 3 or 4 years, but actual experience has been much slower, as long as 9 years. The order also calls for being able to process large numbers of small and micro reactors, possibly through a less restrictive general license. The idea being that once the design of a small reactor is approved, then it should be easier to get permits for more of them. Still, some have cautioned about shortening review timelines, raising concerns about reorganizing and reducing the independence of the NRC could lead to a hasty deployment of advanced reactors with safety and security flaws. A major event, like those in the past, increased regulatory requirements and set back nuclear energy for a long time. Which is a good reminder that a nuclear accident anywhere is a nuclear accident everywhere. Meaning that, particularly for nuclear energy, no event happens in isolation. So safety will have to remain the top priority. And like I mentioned before, the order requires the NRC to reevaluate how it treats very low levels of radiation, specifically the linear no threshold model, and determine if this approach is overly conservative or not, which could lead to different designs than what we've seen in the past to take advantage of such changes. Although it's worth noting that most of the big components of reactor design aren't due to protecting against low levels of radiation, but against accidents and highly radioactive material. And as with some other cases, there are questions about whether the president has the authority to make such changes at independent agencies like the NRC. Executive orders on their own can't override the laws passed by Congress that govern the NRC, which is why the order itself states consistent with applicable law. However, by the end of his term, Trump will have appointed a majority of the commissioners to the NRC, who are likely to share his vision and direction for the agency. So the NRC is likely to go in this direction over the next 4 years anyway. And there's one more subtle way that this order reshapes the NRC, reinforcing the change in mission statement that occurred in the Advanced Act in 2024, specifically by stating that the NRC shall not unduly restrict the benefits of nuclear power. This actually puts the NRC closer to the pre-1970s Atomic Energy Commission, which was responsible for both regulation and promotion of nuclear energy. Congress split those functions in the 1974 Energy Reorganization Act, specifically to create the NRC to focus on safety alone. Now the administration is trying to tilt the balance back within the current law. Now, while the order on reforming the NRC is the biggest one, there are still some substantial changes in the other orders that are getting overlooked. For example, reinvigorating the nuclear industrial base specifically calls for an evaluation of the reprocessing and recycling of spent nuclear fuel. The interest here being that, although uranium fuel has been used once in a reactor, it still contains as much as 97% of its material that can be separated out and reused. Although reprocessing is no longer banned in the United States like it was for several decades, it's still seen as cost prohibitive, especially compared to mining new fuel. But if there's increased demand, then the economics could change, and we might start to see fuel recycling again. Similarly, the order calls for building a robust domestic nuclear fuel infrastructure to increase the production of so-called high-assay, low-enriched, or HALEU fuel. This is uranium fuel that's higher than what we typically see in conventional reactors, and a number of the new advanced designs required in their designs. Because the US generally lacks the ability to make HALEU fuel on its own for now, it has to take it from limited existing stockpiles or purchase it from somewhere else, like Russia. Which could be, a little awkward. But there's actually something pretty interesting here, in that these orders never mention Russia or China by name, but the last executive order is not so subtly directed at them. In deploying advanced nuclear technologies for national security, it directs the Secretary of State to enhance the global competitiveness of American nuclear suppliers, investors, and lenders to compete with nuclear projects around the globe. It's been no secret that, over the last decade, Russia and now China have aggressively taken over the international nuclear market, with the US struggling. And there are many reasons why a country may want to do this. Building a nuclear plant in a new country is a big, complex task, and it requires ongoing support for years or decades after the plant is built. Support that can be tied to the policies and relationship between the two countries for a very long time. That's why countries are so eager to win contracts to build nuclear plants abroad, as a sort of specialized energy diplomacy. Russia and China have embraced this and give potential customers more complete state-backed solutions. This usually includes the construction, technology, fuel, operation, financing, and regulatory support all in one package. The United States has, to say the least, underperformed in this area, despite historically offering what were generally seen as better designs and behaving as a more stable, political, and transparent partner. To try and address this, the executive order tasks the Secretary of State to negotiate at least 20 new bilateral nuclear agreements, known as 123 agreements, by the end of the term. These agreements are legally required to be in place before the US can share or export nuclear technology to another country. Setting a target of 20 new deals is extremely ambitious. It essentially means signing up a large group of nations for potential reactor deals within the next 4 years. The order also targets the Department of Energy to speed up its process for giving export permits, known as Part 810 authorizations. It sets the target to be within 30 days for a complete application to export specific technology or personnel. And the last part targets the financing, directing the United States International Development Finance Corporation to provide money for American nuclear technology abroad. This aims to enable the US to back reactor sales, a direct counter to Russian and Chinese state financing. All of this is aimed at making the US more competitive abroad, or at least reduce the burden on countries by making the technology and financing more available. After all, Donald Trump has stated he'd like to see more exports, and selling nuclear reactors is one way to do that. In the geopolitical arena, these orders are clearly aimed at catching up to China's recent momentum. China's nuclear build-out is state-backed, and could be up to 300 gigawatts by 2035. The US cannot centrally plan to that extent, But these executive orders leverage the government's policy and market power in a similar spirit. By coordinating multiple agencies, defense, energy, commerce, state, the US is attempting a whole-of-government approach akin to China's, while still relying on private industry to do the building. So if you're a supporter of nuclear power, this all sounds pretty promising. We have orders directing major changes to the NRC, fuel supplies, and easier approaches for international exports. So how much of this will we actually see? As with any major policy shift, it's of course hard to say this early on. But there are a few things that we can look for over the next few months to see if this is going to be successful or not. Many of the orders give tight deadlines, like the 9 to 18 months for the NRC to rewrite its entire regulatory framework. Keep in mind, though, that it took the better part of a decade to create the Part 53 rule for advanced reactors, and it's still not finished. It may be possible by focusing resources, and a 20-person team will certainly produce something, although the quality may be questionable and the deadlines are likely to get pushed. But if the intent is to force urgency, then we may only get partial or interim measures. And the goal of quadrupling American nuclear energy to 400 gigawatts by 2050 is clearly aspirational. The US would need to build around 15 new reactors a year to support that, a pace faster than any country has ever done in history. Whether markets respond will depend on whether nuclear can be seen as cost competitive. The executive orders don't address the demand side. They only try to reduce burdens on regulations, supply chains, and financial restrictions. But internationally, there's still a lot to play for. The advantage of US technology is often seen as higher quality and safety, but disadvantage has been cost and bureaucratic delays. These executive orders try to reduce those disadvantages for other countries that are interested in US nuclear technology. However, Russia and China remain strong competitors. Russia offers a full build, own, and operate finance package, and fuel takeback, which is hard to match. China's costs are low, and it's now marketing its reactors aggressively, undercutting even its main international competitor, Russia. The success of Trump's strategy will depend on whether US companies can actually deliver reactors on time and on budget, something the executive orders alone can't guarantee. So if you're a supporter of US nuclear energy, you can be cautiously optimistic, but take it with a big grain of salt. One thing to keep in mind is executive orders aren't necessarily permanent. Just as easily as these orders were issued, they can be reversed by the next president. But the government is taking concrete steps that the industry has wanted for years, so who knows? We'll see where all this goes. Anyway, that wraps up today's video. If you enjoyed it, please do consider liking and subscribing, all that good stuff. It really does help out the channel. And thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.